The Hidden Leaf village stood bathed in golden sunlight, its bustling streets alive with the chatter of villagers and the laughter of children. High above, perched on the Hokage monument, Naruto Uzumaki gazed down at the village he had sworn to protect as its seventh Hokage. His bright orange jacket fluttered in the wind, the weight of his responsibilities etched into the lines of his face. Yet, despite the peace he had fought so hard to achieve, a restless energy thrummed beneath his skin. He clenched his fists, his blue eyes narrowing as he sensed an unfamiliar chakra flickering at the edge of his perception. Something was coming, something dangerous. Meanwhile, deep within the shadows of a forgotten forest, a lone figure manipulated an army of lifeless puppets with eerie precision. The Puppeteer, a rogue shinobi exiled from the hidden sand village, had spent years honing his craft in isolation. His gaunt face was hidden beneath a tattered hood, his fingers dancing like spiders over invisible strings. Each puppet, carved from the bones of fallen warriors, twitched and jerked in unnatural unison. "The world of shinobi is rotten," he whispered, his voice a venomous hiss. "It's time to cut the strings of fate and weave a new order." His ultimate weapon, the marionette of ruin, loomed behind him, a monstrous construct infused with stolen chakra and cursed seals. Naruto's instinct screamed a warning as the village's alarm suddenly blared. An explosion rocked the eastern district, sending plumes of smoke spiraling into the sky. Without hesitation, he vanished in a burst of speed, reappearing at the scene in an instant. Before him, the Puppeteer's army advanced, their hollow eyes glowing with malevolent energy. Civilians screamed as the puppets lashed out with razor-sharp limbs, their movements uncannily human. Naruto's jaw tightened. "Whoever's behind this, you're gonna regret messing with my village." The Puppeteer emerged from the smoke, his cloak billowing. "Naruto Uzumaki, the so-called savior of the shinobi world. How amusing that you still believe in your naive ideals." He raised a hand, and a dozen puppets lunged at Naruto, their joints creaking as blades extended from their arms. Naruto reacted instantly, forming a shadow clone that intercepted the first strike, dispersing in a puff of smoke. He countered with a spinning kick, shattering two puppets into splinters, but the fragments simply reassembled midair. "TCH, not gonna be that easy," Naruto muttered. With a swift hand sign, he summoned a Rasengan, the spiraling sphere of chakra humming in his palm. He dashed forward, weaving between puppet strikes, and slammed the attack into the marionette of ruin's chest. The impact sent shockwaves through the battlefield, but the puppet only staggered before righting itself, its cracked surface knitting back together. The Puppeteer chuckled. "Your strength is impressive, but futile. My creations are bound by neither life nor death." Naruto's eyes flickered with determination. "Then I'll just have to take you down directly." He surged forward, his body enveloped in the fiery aura of Kurama's chakra. The Puppeteer's smirk faltered as Naruto's speed multiplied, his movements leaving afterimages in the air. A fist clad in orange chakra rocketed toward him, but at the last second, the marionette of ruin intercepted, its massive arm blocking the blow. The force of the collision sent cracked spider webbing through the ground. The Puppeteer retaliated, his fingers twitching. The marionette's mouth split open, unleashing a torrent of blackened chakra threads that coiled around Naruto like serpents. He gritted his teeth as the threads siphoned his energy, but with a roar, he erupted in a full nine tails cloak, the sheer force shredding the binds. "You're not the first guy who thought he could control me." Naruto's voice echoed with Kurama's growl. The battle escalated, the sky darkening as their energies clashed. Naruto launched a barrage of tailed beast balls, each detonation shaking the earth, while the Puppeteer's puppets swarmed like locusts, their attacks relentless. The marionette of ruin transformed, its limbs elongating into bladed appendages that slashed through buildings like paper. Naruto dodged, his mind racing. This wasn't just a fight, it was a war against a man who sought to unravel everything the shinobi world stood for. As the dust settled momentarily, the Puppeteer's hollow eyes met Naruto's. "You cling to a broken system, Hokage. But when I rewrite history, even your legend will be nothing more than a forgotten puppet's tale." Naruto wiped blood from his lip, his gaze unwavering. "Dream on. I'll break every last one of your strings before that happens." The final clash loomed, the fate of the shinobi world hanging in the balance. The air crackled with tension as Naruto Uzumaki skidded to a halt atop a shattered tree branch, his cerulean eyes locked onto the shadowy figure below. The Puppeteer, draped in tattered robes, flicked his fingers with eerie precision, sending a swarm of chakra-infused marionettes surging forward. Their wooden limbs whirred with deadly intent, blades glinting under the pale moonlight. Naruto gritted his teeth, his fists clenching as he felt the nine tails chakra simmer beneath his skin. "You're not getting away with whatever sick game you're playing," he roared, launching himself into the fray. The puppeteer's lips curled into a smirk as his creations twisted midair, forming a razor-edged net meant to ensnare the young shinobi. Naruto's instincts flared. He couldn't dodge, so he wouldn't. With a burst of golden chakra, his tailed beast cloak erupted around him, the sheer force blowing the puppets apart like kindling. Splinters rained down as he lunged, his Rasengan spiraling in his palm. The puppeteer barely flinched, raising a hand as a massive puppet, armored in obsidian plates, erupted from the ground to intercept. The collision sent shockwaves through the battlefield, dust clouds swallowing the combatants. Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha weren't far behind, but the terrain had shifted unnaturally. The puppeteer's jutsu was rewriting the battlefield itself. Sakura's fists glowed with chakra as she punched through a puppet aiming for her blind spot, its torso exploding into shrapnel. He's controlling more than just puppets, she panted, dodging a swipe from a serpentine construct. The ground, the air, it's like we're inside his damn dollhouse. Sasuke's Sharingan whirled, tracking the puppeteer's movements through the chaos. Then we break it, he muttered, his Rinnegan flaring as he summoned a blaze of Amaterasu. Black flames licked at the puppeteer's creations, but the man only chuckled, weaving hand signs that siphoned the fire into his own marionettes, turning them into blazing weapons. Naruto wasn't about to be outmaneuvered. With a roar, he summoned a legion of shadow clones, each one weaving a different elemental jutsu. Wind met fire, lightning fused with water, the combined assault forced the puppeteer back, his puppets struggling to adapt. But the enemy wasn't done. With a snap of his fingers, the shattered remains of his dolls reassembled, their joints locking with a sickening click. "You're strong," the puppeteer mused, his voice dripping with amusement, "but can you break what never stays broken?" Sasuke saw the opening. His Susanoo skeletal arm materialized, slamming into the puppeteer's defenses, but the man vanished in a swirl of chakra strings, reappearing atop a monstrous puppet shaped like a demonic shrine. The battlefield trembled as the construct's maw opened, unleashing a storm of poison needles. Sakura barely erected a chakra shield in time, the impact sending her sliding back. "We need to sync up," she growled, wiping blood from her lip. Naruto nodded, his eyes meeting Sasuke's. Wordlessly, they understood. The trio moved as one. Naruto's clones created a diversion, swarming the shrine puppet while Sasuke teleported behind the puppeteer, his blade flashing. The enemy twisted, blocking with a chakra-infused wire, but Sakura was already there, her fist connecting with his ribs. The crack was audible, yet the puppeteer didn't falter. Instead, his body unraveled into threads, revealing another puppet shell. "Foolish," his voice echoed from all directions. "You're still playing by my rules." Naruto's patience snapped. With a surge of Kurama's full power, his form blazed with orange-red energy, tails lashing behind him. "Then we changed the game," he bellowed, slamming his palms together. A colossal Rasen Shuriken formed, its winds howling as he hurled it, not at the puppeteer, but at the earth itself. The ground ruptured, severing the hidden chakra strings that tethered the battlefield to the enemy's will. The puppeteer staggered, his control slipping. Sasuke seized the moment, his perfect Susanoo rising, its sword cleaving through the shrine puppet in a single stroke. The puppeteer's mask split, revealing a face twisted with fury. "You insects dare?" His words cut off as Sakura's chakra-enhanced kick sent him crashing through the remnants of his own constructs. Before he could recover, Naruto was there, his fist engulfed in Kurama's energy. "This ends now." The punch connected, a shockwave of pure force erupting outward. The puppeteer's body shattered, but instead of flesh, only splintered wood remained. Silence. Then, from the shadows, laughter. "You've won nothing," the puppeteer's voice whispered, fading into the night. The team stood amidst the wreckage, breath ragged but unbroken. The battle was over, for now. But the war for the shinobi world had only just begun. The battlefield was a storm of chakra and desperation, the air thick with the scent of burning earth and the metallic tang of blood. Naruto Uzumaki, his orange jacket torn and his body battered, stood defiantly against the puppeteer, a shadowy figure whose strings of control had woven chaos across the shinobi world. The puppeteer's marionettes, former allies, now hollow shells, lurched forward with mechanical precision, their eyes empty yet their movements lethal. Naruto's fists clenched, his knuckles white, as he faced the impossible choice: destroy the puppets and the people they once were, or find a way to break the puppeteer's hold without sacrificing them. The puppeteer's laughter was a razor's edge, slicing through the din of battle. "You can't win, Naruto. Every move you make is already part of my design." His fingers twitched, and the strings glimmered under the moonlight, tightening around the throats of his puppets, Gaara, Sakura, even a reanimated Minato. Naruto's heart lurched as his father's lifeless eyes met his, the puppet's blade raised to strike. He dodged, but not fast enough, the edge grazed his cheek, drawing a thin line of blood. The pain was nothing compared to the agony in his chest. But then, a spark. A memory. The words of his mentor, Jiraiya, echoed in his mind: the true shinobi isn't the one with the most power, but the one who never gives up on people. Naruto's breathing steadied. He couldn't fight them, not like this. He had to fight for them. With a burst of speed, he weaved through the puppets, not to strike, but to reach the puppeteer. His Rasengan flared to life in his palm, but this time, it wasn't just chakra, it was hope, desperation, and the unshakable belief that people could still be saved. The puppeteer sneered, yanking his strings hard. Gaara's sand surged like a tidal wave, Sakura's fist cracked the ground beneath Naruto's feet, and Minato's Hiraishin kunai flickered through the air. But Naruto didn't falter. At the last second, he changed his approach. Instead of attacking, he grabbed the nearest string, channeling Kurama's chakra into it. The golden energy raced up the thread like lightning, searing into the puppeteer's fingers. A scream tore from the man's throat as the connection snapped, and for the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. The puppets staggered, their movements faltering. Gaara's sand crumbled, Sakura's fist trembled mid-swing, and Minato's kunai clattered to the ground. Naruto didn't waste a second. He lunged, not with killing intent, but with an outstretched hand. "I won't let you control them anymore," he roared, his voice raw with emotion. His fingers closed around the puppeteer's wrist, and in that instant, he did something no one expected. He shared his chakra, flooding the man's system with warmth, with feeling. The puppeteer convulsed, his cold facade cracking. What are you?" His voice broke as memories long buried surged forth, the loneliness, the betrayal, the moment he'd decided the world was better off as puppets. Tears welled in his eyes, and the strings dissolved into mist. The puppets collapsed, their bodies freed, their souls returning. Gaara gasped awake, Sakura's eyes fluttered open, and Minato, though still a reanimation, smiled faintly before fading into golden dust. The battlefield fell silent. The puppeteer slumped to his knees, his hands shaking. "Why?" he whispered. Naruto knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Because nobody's beyond saving," he said softly. "Not even you." In the aftermath, the shinobi world shifted. The puppeteer, stripped of his power but not his humanity, was given a chance at redemption. The villages, once fractured by fear, began to rebuild, not just their walls, but their trust. Naruto's actions became legend, not for the destruction he'd caused, but for the lives he'd reclaimed. And as the sun rose over the scarred earth, Naruto stood at the edge of the cliff, looking out at the horizon. The wind carried whispers of change, of a future where strings of control had no place. He smiled, knowing the fight had been worth it. The shinobi world would never be the same, and that, in the end, was the real victory.